For the past few weeks, people have been calling Paladin a meta. And honestly, I think that's exactly why many players failed after switching to the class. Not because Paladin is weak, not because the build is fake, but because people saw the numbers without even understanding where those numbers were coming from. And after spending the last 3 weeks mostly observing the community, I think I understand why. When Season 2 Nightmare Temple came out, the game changed. The MVPs have high defense, they hit hard, and a lot of last cannon classes started struggling. And suddenly, Paladin started showing up everywhere. A class that could survive, a class that could sustain, a tank that can suddenly hit hard. Naturally, people start asking, is Paladin meta? And honestly, I understand why. Because if you only look at the outcome, that's exactly what it looks like. During my downtime, just right after grinding, I would usually stay around the training dummy. And I started noticing something. Paladins were having this quiet competition. One paladin hits a dummy, then another one buffs up and hit another dummy. There's nothing wrong with that. Big numbers are fun. Damage is satisfying. But after watching for a while, I noticed a pattern. People are not trying to understand Paladin. They were trying to copy a Paladin who's doing a million damage per hit, showing a higher HP with bigger damage. And then immediately start chasing the same numbers. More HP, more damage, more buff, refinement switching, and even sacrificing sustain just to force a bigger number. And that's when I realized something. Paladin does not compete in numbers. At least, not the way people think. Paladin is not the highest damage class. It's not even the tankiest class, which is exactly why calling it a meta never made sense to me. What makes Paladin strong is balance. The balance between damage, the balance between sustain, and the balance between survivability. The reason Paladin worked in Nightmare Temple wasn't because it was broken. It was because the content finally rewarded those strengths. And that's a huge difference. This is why I think many players struggled after switching. They thought Paladin was a meta class, meaning copy the build, copy the HP, copy the feathers, copy the damage, and expecting the same results. But let me ask you a question. From these screenshots, who do you think has the better build? Most experienced paladins will choose Paladin B, not because the damage is higher, but if you look closely, Paladin B is achieving almost the same result without relying on temporary scaling and only using Sohi for sustain. While Paladin A is being boosted by Squidget and Battle Chant HP buff. At first glance, most players will look at the bigger number and think that's the stronger Paladin. But that's not the question to ask. The better questions are what happened when the buff disappears and what happened when the fight lasts longer. See the difference? One player is measuring output, the other is measuring performance. And Paladin has always rewarded performance more than output. Now, if you're curious what happened if those temporary scalers disappear for Paladin A, let me show you. The number everyone sees is 857,000 damage. But once the Battle Chant HP buff and Squidget scaling are gone, the same damage drops to around 650k per hit. And this is exactly where the misunderstanding begins. Because people see 857k and assume that's the build. But the large part of the damage is coming from temporary scaling. Battle Chant increase HP, Squidget increase P damage, and the higher the pet level, the bigger the bonuses becomes. In this case, Paladin A appears to be using a high-level Squidget, which further amplifies the result. So, what players are really looking at isn't just the build. They're looking at the build plus temporary scaling. And that's where most players get stuck. They chase the numbers, fail to reach it, then think Paladin failed them. But the real problem is they were chasing the result without understanding what created it. This is where I think many players miss the point. The goal was never to hit the biggest number, was never to win the training dummy, was never to force the highest HP possible. The real goal was to create a paladin that could consistently perform, and that's why some players struggled. Not because their build was bad, not because paladin was weak, but because they were solving the wrong problem. They were trying to maximize the numbers, when experienced paladins were trying to maximize the result. And those are not always the same thing. And that's why you can copy the build. You can even copy the equipment, copy the cards, and even the HP. But you cannot copy the understanding that created those decisions in the first place, unless you are willing to commit to learning the class. I don't hate that people are switching to Paladin. Honestly, I welcome you into this class. The more people who try the Paladin, the better. What makes me sad is when people switch with wrong expectation and then leaves before they understand the class. Because the moment they leave, they think Paladin failed them. When in reality, they never stayed long enough to understand what the class was trying to teach. Because Paladin is not a class that rewards chasing the biggest number. It's a class that rewards understanding the trade-offs. Sometimes, more damage is not better. Sometimes, more HP is not better either. Sometimes, the strongest paladin is not the one hitting the highest number. It's the one that can consistently perform when the content asks for it. So, no, I don't think Paladin is a meta. And I don't say that because I play the class. I say that because if Paladin was truly meta, everyone who switched would have succeeded. Instead, what happened was something different. Paladin just became visible. Paladin became popular. But popularity and viability are not the same thing. Paladin didn't become relevant because it was broken, but because the game finally asked a question that Paladin was built to answer. And if you're a new Paladin player, that's the one thing I want you to take away from this video. Don't ask what the build is. Ask why the build works. Because that's where you'll understand the class better. And once you understand that, you'll know why Paladin became relevant in the first place. And in the next video, I want to talk about where this misunderstanding becomes even bigger. The PvP. So, stick around, like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.